When you go in to make a solo album, do you think of it in a different way to a Stones album?
Yeah, very much. It's very different from making a Stones album, because with Stones album, I sit down, even though I have songs that I've written, I work them up with Keith, and Keith plays me his songs, and I write the lyrics to them, or we work the songs together, or whatever those various ways that Keith and I write. And then we talk about how that's going to work out, so that you've got it sort of inbuilt the songwriting, inbuilt the musicians. Apart from there are peripheral musicians in the Rolling Stones, or you might say very important ones. They play keyboards for the band over the years. But you know more or less what the rhythm section is going to sound like. But you come to a solo album and you can do anything you like, really. You can choose any musician, so you audition musicians, or you think of which ones you like to use from before, or whatever. So you can more or less do what you want. So you want to figure out you have to figure out more or less on your own what kind of album you're going to make.
It's a double-edged sword, though, because on one hand you've got the freedom, but that freedom is also extra pressure, isn't it, in a way?
Yeah. So you can do, so for instance, Charlie Watts decides he wants to continue his love affair with Charlie Parker, so he makes an album which is like Charlie Parker. And Keith has this group of musicians that he likes to play with, and he wants to play with them. I just take it from the point of view of the songs, really, and what songs I'm writing, because I don't really want to force myself to write other songs. I find it very difficult. If I'm writing these kind of songs in this style, that's the songs I'm going to do that year. I'm not going to force myself completely into another style. And so I think, how would I do that song, and what kind of musicians? And the other thing is that, for instance, on this album, I didn't want to use hundreds and hundreds of musicians. I wanted it to feel like it was a core of musicians. There's quite a few musicians, but I just kept it to more or less the same group. So when I auditioned them, I say, well, you have to play like a bit of country, and you have to play a bit of this, and see if they were into that. But you got a lot of freedom, but you have to circumscribe that to a certain extent yourself.
Yeah, you succeeded, because the album is certainly not overproduced. It's got a really good raw feel to that. Was that an intentional thing? Yeah,
it was intention. That I thought, I think that I'd like to do a very stripped-down record, relatively. I mean, it's not completely raw, and it's not like a three-piece, like a garage band. I didn't really want to do that, because I think that would be an affectation, to be honest. And also, it wouldn't enable me to do enough styles of music. But it is pretty raw, it is pretty stripped down. There's not a lot of production. There certainly isn't overproduction.
Yeah, it's quite there's a blues feel to it, really. Was that something you thought about doing consciously?
No. Though I was listening to a lot of blues at that time, and I was listening to a lot of old records. I was also listening to a lot of reissues of things that I'd never really heard before, by pretty familiar artists, but maybe songs I didn't know so well as the favourites and so on. And I used to go and listen to this blues band that I made these records with. We never intended to put in the album. I did a whole record of blues songs with this Red Devils blues band, and I used to go and listen to them every Monday. So I guess through all that, there's a certain kind of blues feeling throughout a lot of it.
Yeah, did the National Music Day gig have an influence on it, do you think?
Well, to a certain extent. I mean, I was very blues-orientated throughout the summer. So I was thinking about the blues for the National Music Day. I was listening to blues. I was trying to figure out what songs I'd do on that. And then I was singing songs with this Red Devils blues band and listening to them at home. So, I was pretty blues-orientated. But none of the songs are really what you'd call blues, I don't think. But there's a kind of feeling behind it.
Yeah, because you wouldn't really be called a blues singer. You're really a rock singer, aren't you? I mean, it's not...
Yeah, I'm a rock singer, but I like to be able to... I mean, I started out more of a blues singer, so that's what I started as. So I would say I was a blues singer as well.
So if people say, Mick's gone back to his roots with this album, do you think that's a fair summary?
Somewhat. I don't think it's completely true. I think that'd be if you said that to someone and they knew like the history of the Rolling Stones or myself, they'd think, well, it's like a very early Stones record, which it isn't, I don't think, at all.
No, I mean, it's not the Stones, is it?
No, it isn't. But on the other hand, it's very stripped down. It's not overproduced. It's not got too many sort of gimmicks on it.
It sounds very fresh. Is that partly, from my point of view, is that partly because you didn't use a lot of expensive session musicians? You went for maybe sort of less known, possibly.
They're unknown. No, they're not well known. I mean, they weren't like the top. I mean, you could go to a town like London or Los Angeles or New York, and there's a group of great session musicians which everyone uses, and you can use them, and you know you're going to get great results and very quickly and all that. The only danger is that because they're so popular and they're so good that everyone uses them on their records. So, but without knowing it, the listener might feel familiarity with it, and it's very hard. It's also hard to get them in one place for a long time because they're so busy and they're sort of, the top of their field and so on. So, when I did the auditions, I tended to go for people that weren't quite so well known.
I mean, you didn't call Jeff Beck this time, then?
No, I don't really count. I mean, I know Jeff Beck's kind of in there. I mean, but I know I didn't call anyone like that. I mean, I was thinking of having Joe Satriani play some solos, and in some ways I would have liked him to, but he was so busy with his stuff. But no, I didn't have any sort of stars like that in LA. I mean, we had Courtney Pine come and do some solos, but he's not famous for doing rock work, but he's pretty well known as a sax player in the jazz fraternity. People have asked me, who's that sax player? I said, it's Courtney Pine. They all knew who that was, but they never heard him on a rock record before. No,
it was a very different route to that. I mean, it was John Bon Jovi's solo album, which came out a while ago now, but he obviously picked some big names to be on there, whereas you've gone out to make an album of songs your own way. That's my impression. But
yeah. Well, Bruce Springsteen's last album was pretty. He used to, pretty hot LA session players and so on. But yeah, it's an album of songs, and we rehearsed it and worked the bugs out of the songs or changed the grooves and so on. And I think that Rick Rubin was helpful in that area of like keeping it pretty rough. But sometimes you don't really have any choice between keeping it rough. It just is rough. There's no smooth bit. But I think that I enjoy playing with people that aren't the most well known.
Okay, when did you first meet up with Rick Rubin? How did that come about?
Oh, years ago when he was doing LL Cool J. And he lived in New York. He's from New York. And I met him when he was like the big new kind of rap producer. And then he went and did this Beastie Boys record. And he wanted to do a rock record at that point, but I didn't know if he really knew how to do a rock record. And then when I thought of him again, because he had he'd changed a lot, and he was living in Los Angeles, and he was more into rock music than he was into only rap. And so I thought, well, I'll give it a whirl with him. I think he's very used to getting his own way when he actually produces. I mean, there was a comment from Sir Mix-a-Lot, you know that record?
Yeah.
Which is actually a very good record, but he said, well, I don't let Rick in the studio, because he's got his ideas and I have mine, and, I don't want to know about Rick's ideas, and he always likes what I do. But when Rick produces his garage bands, I think he just tells them, OK, that's good, that isn't he. Great, cool. But, with me now, I was going, completely wrong, that's rubbish, can't do that. Or, yeah, that's a good idea, but you have to work it up a bit. And so we got on really well because we knew what we both wanted the same thing at the end. We had a very clear idea of what we wanted in mind. Well, we had quite a few, because we didn't really know each other really, we had quite a few long talks about how we were going to do it, and I said, no, I said, I think he has great ideas, but I don't always agree with them, that it's inevitable. So we had quite a gritty relationship, which I think is actually always quite good for a record. Yeah. That you have two people with very strong views. Where it doesn't work is it goes that if you don't reason with each other, and then you go fly off in different directions. Because ultimately, you know, it's my record, so I know that that's the thing about having a solo record. It's ultimately your record, and you're paying for it, basically. So, you know, in the end, everyone can argue with you, but you say, well, I'm sorry, that's how it's going to be, because it's my record and not yours. Which, of course, in a group is not the same, because you always have to compromise in a group, which sometimes leads to a record not being maybe quite so focused as it would be, or you could say, well, it's more varied.
Yeah. So when you're writing solo for the songs on this album, how does it work? Do you think of the lyrics first, or is it like the Stones and music comes first? Or?
Well, the best is always when they both come together, and you don't have to write the lyrics because they're all written. I think when I write, that I get like a chorus going with music and lyrics, mostly. If not, I get the music first, and then the top line, and then the lyrics. I did some other. I did have some help. I mean, I think that the guitarist on the record who helped me a great deal. Helped me out with 3 of the songs, I think, musically, and I did, I think, 3 cover versions on this album. Old James Brown song called "Think," and the Bill Withers tune, which was a big hit for Bill Withers, called "Use Me," which we did more or less like Bill Withers. And then I did some sort of, did some walk-on parts on a Lenny Kravitz gig in Paris. And then when I saw him in Los Angeles, Rick and I decided that he'd be good to do a duet with this "Use Me," to make it a bit different from the original. So we did "Use Me" as a duet. So that was kind of interesting. Instead of doing the girl duet that is normally de rigueur.
Yeah, your voices work well. I mean, he seems to work well with you.
Yeah, I think the voice. You never know if it's going to work or not. Those things, you know, until you try it. But I think it works really good. But we knew that kind of already because we'd done these. I did this show at the Zenith with him, and we did an old Stones song. Can't remember which one, but the voices sounded. The voices sounded really good.
You did one in Wembley as well with him.
I did the same thing the week after. Keep my hand in. It's good though because it keeps your hand in a bit when you're going out in front of an audience. Otherwise, you get a bit rusty.
So it reminded you what it was all about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So a lot of the collaborations with Rick Rubin you'd met ages ago, and Lenny Kravitz you sort of bumped into.
Yeah.
Is that how you meet a lot of musicians you work with? You just literally bump into them.
Yeah. I met the guitar player, Jimmy Rip. I met him when I was doing a video with, oh God, Bette Midler. And Bette Midler did this version of Beast of Burden. Yeah. And she said, I'll come be in the video. And I was like, I said, I really want to know. But anyway, I did it in the end. It was quite a funny video. But Jimmy was in the miming backup band, and that's how I met him. So it's really odd how you meet people. And the other guys that played, that I hadn't met, and I just met them through auditions. Right, but Billy Preston also plays on the album, and he lives in Los Angeles, and he hadn't been doing that much that I'd heard of. He was getting his name in the papers through court cases mostly, I'd heard. But there's a couple of songs that are sort of gospel-based. One's called Out of Focus, and Wandering Spirit also. So I thought, well, I don't know anyone really any better than Billy to do that sort of church stuff, because it's not like he's faking playing it, he really plays it, and he played it when he was a kid. So he came in and did some of those sessions. Actually, he also plays on Use Me, the clavinet part.
What was it like working with him again after all this time?
It's good. He's a really great player. I mean, always has a great vibe in the studio. It's he plays like instantly, you know, the thing, he just plays it straight off. If he doesn't get it, he's not going to get it, kind of thing.
Because he was almost a member of the Stones, wasn't he, for a while?
Yeah, he did a lot in the 70s. He played with the Stones on tour, I think, 2 tours. And a lot of records. Only before that, played with the Beatles on Get Back.
On the roof, yeah.
On the roof, yeah, it's a show on the roof.
So I suppose let's go with the first single, Sweet Thing. It's one of your romantic songs, isn't it? Is it?
Well, kind of. I don't. If you describe it, if you haven't heard it, it's like, yeah, it's sort of romantic, but it's a more sort of dance-orientated romantic thing. Yeah, I mean, it's more of a groove song than one of those songs with a lot of deep lyrical meaning. But I did it quite a long time ago in France. And we got to Los Angeles. We tried to do it again live because the rest of the album is really live, and this track is, is driven by kind of loops and things. And so we did it live, and we never really liked it. And I said, no, it's the one track I don't want it to be live. I want the rest of the album I want to be live, but this one I don't hear it like that. And Rick and I went, and he said, no, it's going to be live. It's going to be great. And we spent like 3 days doing it. It was terrible. So we went back and we put these loops on it, which are all from old records, all scratchy old records.
Yeah.
And I think it's a pretty, it's a slower kind of dance record. It's not like a house groove, but it's a good dance song.
I suppose it's in the Miss You tradition, isn't it? If anything.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, it's a little bit like the Miss You, but it's not. I don't think it's that much like Miss You, but it's just Four on the Floor. That's all. It's the same. But every dance record has Four on the Floor. It can't be a dance record that doesn't have Four on the Floor.
Was it an obvious first single, do you think?
Well, everyone. Well, I always liked it, but lots of other people said no. But the record company, that's the only one they really wanted. So it's very hard to sort of. Yeah, I could say no, I don't want it, no, absolutely. But as I liked it anyway, it would have been for me maybe second single or something. But they wanted it first single, and that's the one they're the ones that have to work on it more than anybody and tell everyone how great it is.
Right. Well, then the next step, I suppose, is the video. Working with Julian again. How did that come about? Working with Julian again this time?
Well, I went round and round and round and round, and I was going to work with someone else because there was going to be another song. I think "Don't Tear Me Up" was talked about as the first single, and then when I gave Sweet Thing to Atlantic, they changed their minds and they said, "Oh no, I want this one." So then I went to Julian because I thought that he would be able to do an interesting video of it.
Do you think he's got a good ear for your work then? Because you worked with him a number of times now.
Yeah. I think he listens and he listens to the music and he listens to the lyrics and he gets underneath it. They're very enthusiastic about it. When we talk them through, we always get lots and lots and lots of ideas, and we have to throw them all out and keep 3 of them. Which 3 are we going to keep? And it says, "Well, Mick, I want this underwater shot. I want you swimming underwater. So I go, "I'd do it, Ginny, but I'm a really useless underwater swimmer, but I'll try it." But I think I've thrown that out the window now, fortunately. But I like working with Julian. I mean, I think he's done some good work.
You're quite involved in the video because not all artists get involved in the creative process of the video. Is that because you take it very seriously?
Well, you take it quite seriously because I think it's an extension of the song. I mean, if you just say, "Oh, I don't care about it," but I think lots of people do. But if you don't take it seriously, you don't get what you want. I mean, if you don't, seriously is perhaps the wrong word. I mean, if you don't put your own input into it and your own ideas and at least your own edit ideas and say, "No, that's crap, we'll take that out," then you just get cliches, really. You want it to be part of your work, not just someone imposing their ideas on you. You want to be part of it.
It's the same as with Rick Rubin as well, that if somebody works with you, because of your level of experience, you're not going to let yourself just be sort of chucked into a video that you're not happy with.
Yeah, I wouldn't be, but I think that you don't have to be that experienced as I am to want to do that necessarily. I think most people that are interested in visual things, and lots of people are interested in visual things, they want to take part of it, because not all the ideas you get are any good. So, but you have to carry the can for that. But no, it's much better if you're involved rather than. I think you get more out of it.
Because some people might say with an album like this, which is a lot of it is played almost as live, got a very raw feel to it. should stand on its own, and maybe you shouldn't make a video.
Well, it's like saying you shouldn't do any promotion, you know. No, if you don't do any promotion, you don't make a video, then, you know, you might do well. Maybe slowly, you know, over a period of 6 months or a year, people will get to maybe hear about it. But it doesn't usually work like that in the commercial world of records or films or anything. If you don't make a lot of noise about it. But I actually enjoy doing the videos, and I've always enjoyed doing them. And I don't see why I shouldn't do one. I'm not very much of a purist as far as music's concerned. You know, I think music can be adapted to all kinds of things. There's a ballet now of some of this early Rolling Stones music, like 1965 Rolling Stones. It's great watching a real ballet choreographed around that. And, you know, so it's one kind of, this music influencing dance, you know, so, and video is an extension of the song. I mean, it can be crap, but so can the song. You know, it depends how good both of them are.
So you see it as an overall picture, really, don't you?
Yeah. The same as, you know, you do songs, but they're not only recorded, you do them, you can play them live or perform them. But doing video is a performance of the song.
Right, so when I last spoke to Keith, which actually wasn't very long ago,
yeah,
doing the same sort of thing you're doing to promote the album, he was saying that he now feels that solo work is really what keeps the Stones going. It's like he thought that it was the opposite, but in actual fact, it's the lifeblood.
To change his mind a bit. I don't agree with him. I think it's just gone a bit too far the other way. I mean, as you say, Keith before, he didn't want to ever do anything solo, you know, for whatever reasons. Nor did he really want anyone else to. But I think it's very good to be able to do other things, because I think you could become very stale always working with for so long with the same musicians, and so it gives you another. It shows you how you can work differently. It's still you working, it's still me singing, it's still Keith playing the guitar when Keith makes records on his own, but it's with a different group of people, and then you've got different ways of looking at how to work and how to make records or how to perform. And so it gives you another, shows you more aspects of your work. Whether it's the lifeblood of the Rolling Stones, I mean, the lifeblood of the Rolling Stones is the Rolling Stones getting together and writing the best songs and playing well. Now, maybe what Keith means by that is that it gives him extra inspiration and so on to go on and want to do it, or because of the freshness of working on his own, it gives him more impetus to work with a band again, which I think is pretty much so.
I mean, it's the same for all of you, that when you come off a tour, a lot of bands would just take a rest. I mean, I know Dave Gilmour from Pink Floyd just took a couple of years off, but none of you do that. You don't stop at all. You're either doing a film, or you're doing a solo album, or you're getting up on stage with Lenny Kravitz. When do you actually stop?
Well, I did stop actually for a bit. At the end of the tour, I did stop, and I went away for quite a long time. I went on walking in the mountains and all this. I mean, not for very long, but for a couple of months and so on. Yeah, then I started writing again. I just started writing for this album, and then I was offered this part in an action movie, and I did that. So I thought, oh, well, that, because I don't want to go just music all the time. I wanted to do something, but I could use my head in a different way. So I did that movie part, which I enjoyed doing, because it was just taking me out of being a singer, songwriter, and always being in the studio and all that. But then I went straight back to it. I don't know. I get very kind of itchy if I don't do anything. I think just doing nothing is really dull, you know. But you don't have to do work. But you should be keeping your mind going. If you sit on the beach for 6 months, you get really just bored, I think.
That's definitely my impression. I mean, you're always busy. I bet when you were walking, you were thinking about songs or something, or you were thinking about the next
I was writing them, actually. Yeah. I mean, at night I used to write the lyrics out on strum with an acoustic guitar. But I mean, yeah, that's the best way, though. They just sort of come slowly. And I wrote some songs for this album on that trip.
So even now, rock and roll's not like a job at all. It's still fun.
Yeah, it's fun, but it gets kind of hard at times. But mostly it should be fun, but it's not easy. I don't think. I mean, things come very easy sometimes, and then there's patches where it's really quite hard work. But I think anything's like that. You can't expect it to be easy going.
Okay. Have you any plans to do some sort of solo tour?
Well, I was going to, but I got so late with the album that I'm not going to do a tour because I have to go straight, as you say, I have to go straight into writing with Keith the next Rolling Stones album. So I don't really have time to do the tour I was going to do. So I'm going to do maybe a couple of shows.
You've got some other things planned, though, haven't you, apart from the Stones?
Well, the Stones is going to be quite a long project. There's the album to write, and then you've got to record it, and then you're going to go on the road with it if everything works out. And well, apart from that, I'm trying to do some movie development. So I have a company now that does that. So when I've done all the tour, when I've done the tour, I'm on the tour, and I don't have to think about it anymore. I can just have on 1 or 2 days off. I can do my movie development. So apart from that, I don't know what else I'm doing. I'm pretty busy, I must say.
Of course, the question: what sort of movies are you going to be working on?
Well, I'm trying to work on not just one kind of movie, or I mean, I could say, well, small British movies. Yeah, it could do small movies, but also I've got a science fiction one I want to do, which is probably not going to be very small. And then, but mostly I want to do relatively intelligent movies. I don't want any dopey action movies that just spend money. But I like to do intelligent movies, but I'm not particularly stuck in one genre. And I'd like to be in some of them. But I have to be in all of them. So that's what I'm doing, as well as this Rolling Stones next project.
Now, Rolling Stones getting back together again to do this. Are you looking forward to getting back with Keith and writing?
Yeah, I saw him the day before yesterday. He's as we're doing this interview a little bit before, but he's on a tour at the moment. So I saw him just before he's going on the tour. Yeah, we talked a little bit about it, and how we're going to approach it and so on.
Yeah, I mean, the theme last time was Steel Wheels. Have you got any idea about any of that side of it?
Yeah, I already have ideas for the theme. But, it really depends. It really devolves from the music, and I don't quite know what direction but the music's going to take. I mean, it's going to be like the Rolling Stones, but is it going to be this version or that version, or is it going to be very eclectic, or is it going to be very raw, or is it going to be relatively sophisticated, or is it going to be lots of ballads? I don't know. The thing is, when you go on the road, you can't really have too many. You've got to have a lot of performance tunes to do. And so at the back of your mind, you're always thinking, how's this going to be if I have to perform it? Or can I perform this live? So it's not every one you have to do, but you have to have half a dozen like that.
You're going to have a hard job following Steel Wheels and Urban Jungle as well, because not only was it very successful commercially, but it was also successful critically. It was a great show. Yeah,
well, you can't. Yes, it was a really good show, and you don't always know if it's you can't always expect things to go up on a curve of ever increasing wonder, where everyone loves it, everyone comes, it's bigger than ever, and the critics love it more than ever. So you just have to see how it goes. So I have to be aware of that, If it's a good show, though, I think people will like it. You have to be. I don't want it to be the same as the Steel Wheels. The trap is that you're going to fall into repeating yourself, maybe.
Of course, the question, the difference of everyone's. I've asked this question so many times, but are you going to have a different bass player this time?
Yeah, definitely. Bill's not going to record with the Rolling Stones or tour with the Rolling Stones. Therefore, he's not in the Rolling Stones anymore. So yeah, we are going to have a different bass player. So please write in your applications.
Have you got any ideas?
Who's it going to be? I don't know yet. And we're obviously going to have to try people out. And there's not one person I know it's going to be. It's that the case is closed. So we're going to try some people out. But you have to be a good dancer to follow Bill.
Because last time I spoke to Keith, he said he was going to have a chat with Bill and see if he could sort it out. So presumably the chat's been had.
Well, But I don't think Bill wants to. I mean, I said the same thing all along. I mean, I think Bill has. He doesn't want to do it, and he doesn't want to do it. So if you don't want to do something, then I'm not going to try and twist your arm. If you don't want to do it, I'd rather the unwilling debutante or whatever, the reluctant debutante. So I don't want that. I want someone that's enthusiastic and wants to really get down and do it.
Yeah, because it's not like a sort of one-off gig, is it? This is a major commitment over at least 18
It's at least
months.
a tour, yeah, at least one tour. I'm not looking for someone who's going to be in the band forever, but it's a major commitment.
Right, now, the tour, I mean, when you actually plan to go on the road then, specifically? Is it...
1994, beginning of.
So about a year then from...
Yeah,
when
so we
this
have to... first we have to make the record, which we won't start until March. I mean, with the songwriting and then the record, and then time that's all done and wrapped up, and then we have to rehearse and do all the staging and so on. So I figure that's going to take 10 months, and then we go on the road.
Do you wish...
If everything works out. Tickets aren't on sale yet.
Do you wish that maybe you had more time though to concentrate on the solo work?
Well, I would like to have a little bit more time. If the record's, a success, I would have liked to have done some touring behind it. But it was my own fault being so late. But I just wanted to get it right. So I just have to forego touring with it, I think.
Yeah, and also, as the Stones have never included any solo stuff, have you, on tour? You don't...
No, I mean, I don't particularly mind. I mean, say, for instance, if Keith wanted to do one of his solo songs rather than one he'd done with the Rolling Stones, to me, it doesn't really make any difference. Right. And, if there was a song that everyone liked from this album, say, I don't really see why. But there's a sort of argument about it, I suppose. There could be. But I'm pretty loose about it.
Of course, the other thing is you're not exactly short of material with the Stones, anyway.
No, there's a lot of Stones material. To go, and I was always sifting through it in my mind which ones we didn't do last time, which ones I've never really done, and how do we do them on stage and so on. There's a lot of songs.
So, I mean, having written so many great songs, is that a lot of pressure when you go out to write a song like you have for this album? Is that a lot of pressure to keep up with that?
Yeah, to me, the songs are really the most important building block of the whole thing. They're one of them anyway. If the songs don't really have it, then it's a little weak, the whole thing. I mean, you could take a nostalgic Rolling Stones tour out, which you didn't bother to write new songs or whatever. But I think it's important that the new songs have got some quality, because nobody likes them at the beginning. And they all say they're not as good as the old ones, but people always say that. And in the end, there's always a few that stand up to the test of time. They don't all stand up. But some of them do.
What are your favourite tracks off this album, the solo albums, at the moment? Difficult question.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's a bit early to tell, but I quite like Wandering Spirit. I like Angel in My Heart. I still like Sweet Thing now. I've heard it a lot of times. But I'm not far enough away from it to have real favourites at the moment.
I'll come back and ask you in about 5 years' time.
Yeah, a few months even.
Are you a wandering spirit then? Is it?
Well, it's a very itinerant occupation, and I was thinking, well, yeah, if I'm going to go touring again, I'm here and I'm there. But really what it means is not such a geographical thing, it's more of a, not such a physical thing as a mental thing, I think, that in that song. What that song really addresses is other things than just going on a tour, plane or bus. But I thought it sounded a good title for the album.